Welcome to Division Rivals. I'm Gabe Cohan.
I'm Kenny Weber.
I'm Lucas Cicero, dude.
Crazy. Another week of football happened, guys. Didn't think it was going to come out this weekend, I'll be honest. A lot of rocky starts. London game. Early London games. Did you guys get up? I assume, Lucas, you got up for it.
Yeah, it's the Giants and the Packers. I stayed asleep. I was fast asleep.
Same
I
here.
literally woke up to the celebratory group chat shit from these two idiots.
It was 6:30 a.m. for us Pacific time, folks.
Honestly, the group chat was very annoying. It kept buzzing, and I was not trying to wake up. I'm going to leave the group chat, guys. Hot take. No. Giants-Packers played football.
You're not allowed to, Gabe.
You actually have notifications on? I just only see it when I open Instagram.
Yeah, Gabe
shows
is
a lot.
there. Yeah, you're just literally telling on yourself, rookie move, having the notifications of the group chat. I have to open up my my messages to receive those.
Brief aside, no joke. I thought I deleted Tinder and Bumble and all that with my girlfriend. Obviously, we deleted them, and I kept getting notifications. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on. And she's like, you didn't really delete the apps. You just removed them from your home screen. I'm 23. This shouldn't be happening to me. I don't know how to use technology. Unlike Brian Dable, who definitely knows how to use some form of technology, and Saquon Barkley. Okay, that sounds bad, but we'll just move forward. Giants played the Packers this weekend in London. Lucas and Dwayne were blowing up our group chat a little too frequently with Saquon Barkley MVP chants midway through this game.
I'm going to lose my fucking mind if they don't get this through their goddamn heads, that Saquon is not the MVP of the league, not even close. I would say a great conversation would be ranking how many people are in front of him for MVP, because then that's like I like that a lot more. I'm not saying we have to do that right now, but there's probably 10 players in the league that are ahead of him for
I
MVP.
want to hear 5. Give me 5, just right off the top of your head.
Every quarterback in the NFL. That's more. That's more than 5.
Well, I can name maybe 2
okay,
quarterbacks.
I'll give you Cooper Rush.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? He's undefeated. 4-0. Cooper Rush.
Doesn't make him an MVP
Actually,
candidate.
Cooper Rush is my MVP favorite right now. If I were to bet, Cooper Rush. No. Josh Allen. Fuck. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson.
Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts. Pretty obvious. Honestly, Cooper Rush, I know, kind of a joke, but seriously, he's probably up there. I don't know. I mean, there are definitely plenty of players that we can continue to list off. Patrick Mahomes, quite obviously, and there you go. There's 5. I'd even put Geno Smith up there, low-key, though. But
Geno Smith is surprisingly having
So.
a very good season. I'm still in shock, but
yeah, I think the Packers were in shock that they lost this football game. As a Giants fan, how are you feeling? You guys 4-1 officially.
I'm not gonna lie. I was very excited to see the win. I'm very excited to see not only the win, but like the progression of the team, because by the end of the game, we were down to our third-string receivers and third-string corners. Adoree Jackson left at halftime, and we somehow still kept the Packers scoreless in the second half. I would not have believed if you would have told me that last week, no matter how much of a diehard homer I am. Like, you're playing with third-string quarterbacks or corners against, they're not a pedestrian offense, but they're also not what they used to be. But they still have the reigning MVP on their side, so anything can happen. I think I don't look too deep into the whole power rankings thing. I wouldn't call them a contender yet, but we do have to be taken seriously. I think we've earned that respect.
Okay,
by now.
see, this is fun. This is a little bit of a different tune.
Yeah.
Than pops off in the group chat. So I like this. It's a humble Lucas.
No, it's because he realizes that there's actual opportunity now, right?
Absolutely.
And that's the thing, is he's like, holy shit, you know what would be worse than losing? Or you know what would be worse than having a shitty franchise that doesn't know what they're doing? Is losing in a game that matters.
What's funny is that's where I was going with this week with Lucas and Dwayne.
Yep.
Was I think that what's happened here with their attitudes, especially their attitudes even towards the Cowboys, which we'll get to in that, is I think they've just gone so long with being a shitty team that now that their team was winning, it was a high. Like there was a high, and now they're coming down out of that high just enough to be realistic. And I like this.
Unlike Philly
I'm a fan.
fans, Giants fans know like true heartbreak all the time,
man,
right?
Yeah.
So I think that's what's hitting. Is it's like the don't count the chickens before they hatch, and everyone's like, we counted too many chickens, like, and all of them are Saquon Barkley. We counted 26 of them. I hate Daniel Jones' face. Moving on, Cowboys-Rams was another game that happened this week, and the Cowboys look really fucking good.
Yes, your defense does look really good. The offense was terrible. If Dak was playing in that game and that was the offense that was in the game, we'd be calling for Cooper Rush to play the game. You know what I mean? Like that was not a good offensive game. CeeDee Lamb, like he's pissing me off.
Yeah, more like CD's nuts.
Yeah, see these dropped passes. Like that's like just the drops and the like if you're going to be a number one receiver, those passes that are in your hands need to stay in your hands, man. It's terrible. I'm happy to squeak out wins. I'm fucking happy that the Cowboys are, still in this. I literally was the person who was like, I was like, oh, this is going to be a fucking shitty time on the podcast all season. It's just be me complaining and being mad, and then it's like, yeah, the Cowboys are right there in it. It sucks, that so many that we have that everybody in the division's doing so well. It would have been really nice if everybody sucked and we could just run away with it.
You guys love Carson Wentz.
You bring up a good point. The NFC East is the best division in football right now. Prove me wrong.
By record.
100%.
No, by everything. I mean, you have three extremely competitive teams who right now you could say can go up against anybody.
Yeah, especially the Chicago Bears. The Bears are a little bit feisty. We'll talk about them later. The Rams looked really, really bad again for another week.
That's what I'm saying. Is I think the Cowboys and the Giants this week suffered the same thing where suffered is probably a poor word to use, but it's they played against teams that you think are good.
But they've atrophied a lot from last year.
And so both of those teams are our teams playing better than you thought they would. Those teams playing worse than you thought they would. And it makes sure this recipe of like Cooper Rush, feel the rush or whatever it is. It's I'm not.
Feel the rush of the throbbing D.
I just think he's a backup quarterback who's reliable. I don't know why that's such a bad thing. Why does it have to be? It has to always be a controversy.
Because he looks like me. That's why he shouldn't be doing this. It's the same reason why Carson Wentz still has a starting job in the NFL, and Andy Dalton's been starting games for the Saints. People don't expect it out of us.
But and
putting up points too.
If the defense, the defense is playing, that game they played the number one defense in the league by far, and if they didn't play to that level, they would have lost that game.
Who has a better defensive unit, Giants or Cowboys?
Cowboys.
Ooh, good question. I think as a complete unit, I think the Giants they lack talent, right? They don't have the same amount of talent.
What
that
a
the
backwards
Cowboys do.
answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the Cowboys.
Yeah. You thought I was gonna say the Giants. The Giants are clearly now more talented, but as a unit, we've shown up.
Oh no, I completely. Your defense is the primary reason you guys are 4-1. Both of your respective teams. Michael Parsons on one. I love Xavier McKinney, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I know you did a lot.
Yeah.
You two were training a shit ton down in Long Beach in the off season. You and Xavier.
Yeah, man. He just comes over and no.
I'm just trying to plug. We're just trying to get guests on this podcast in 2 to 3 weeks.
Hey, shout out Xavier McKinney.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all I ask for. A guest we're definitely never going to get is the quarterback of my favorite team in football, Kyler Murray. Cardinals lost 20-17 in a game where they tried to come back after going down early.
Did you see the blouse he showed up in?
Oh, my God. That Hillary Clinton jumpsuit. Oh, my God.
Did you guys see the video of these people wearing a bunch of green jumpsuits beating the fuck out of people in the New York substation?
No.
Okay, a few weeks ago. That's what it reminded me of, yeah. Anyway.
Was he paying homage to them?
I think I spent too much time on the internet, truthfully.
Truthfully, though, if we can get Kyler Murray on this podcast, all we got to do is host a Modern Warfare tournament. So.
Oh, I thought you were going to say study session.
Study ball with Kurt Warner.
Yeah, exactly. No, Kenny asked me how I felt about the Cardinals earlier. What's there to feel?
You guys should have won that game.
Yeah, that's exactly what. No, truth be told, I think I've been too down on the Cardinals. We're a decent football team. We are. We're going to be competitive, but I stand by what I said at the start of the season. We're nowhere close to the same team we were last year. A lot of that comes from coaching, and a lot of that comes from the absence of DeAndre Hopkins, which is why we're 2-3.
What do you think they're going to look like when he comes back? Because one more week and the wait's over.
Bad. They're going to be bad. Cliff Kingsbury is an awful coach. He just is. I mean, they don't put up points in the first half of football games.
How many more seasons are you going to be coaching?
I don't know. They extended him, so beats me. Matt Rule got fired this week. I hope Cliff Kingsbury is next in the coaching carousel.
It'll be after the season, but
yeah, probably.
Do you think next season is just a guarantee for him?
I think next season is like the official hot seat for the Keim Kingsbury regime, because truthfully, Steve Keim has fucked up pretty much every draft that we've had in the last 5 years. I mean, drafting Josh Rosen at 10 and then having to backtrack that to Kyler Murray at 1 the next year. I mean, that's a first-round pick at number 10 that you missed out on, right? Yep. They missed out on Patrick Mahomes by 1 pick because they weren't willing to trade up. Like, there are a lot of these little blips on the radar of things that Steve Keim has missed, and he doesn't draft well in the second round, and he doesn't draft well in the third. I mean, Jonathan Cooper, going a few years back, we drafted him with a 5th or 6th overall pick as an offensive guard. Like, everything about Keim is bad. Huh?
Is he still on the team, Cooper?
No. Oh, God, no. No, he's out of the NFL. So anyway, I really think next year is like the official last season of the leash, because they did both get extended, but it's about time the Cardinals brought some new blood in from the front office. If Dable's looking for another job with real talent, we got him.
Absolutely not. No, it's funny because after Matt Rule got fired, everyone on the Giants subreddit was like, oh my God, this could have been us, because we were very close to getting him. Right around the time we hired Joe Judge, actually at the exact same time, I think the only reason why we didn't hire Matt Rule was because he wanted a 7-year contract, which honestly, you got to give credit where credit's due. He's going to get paid, I think, the next 2 seasons fully guaranteed, and he just has to do nothing and get millions of dollars.
Are you sure it wasn't because of like the New York soda restrictions on the amount of volume you can have in a cup there?
Oh, you mean with the
health? Yeah, because Matt Rule does not look healthy.
His pockets are looking hella fucking healthy.
Yeah.
He's unemployed but rich.
I'll take that any day of the week. Speaking of people who are going to be unemployed and rich, Brandon Staley, does he like winning? The Chargers eke out a victory over the Browns because Jacoby Brissett threw a late pick in that game. I think Brandon Staley is another one of those coaches very similar to Kingsbury who just does not understand clock management. Do you guys think he's on the hot seat with the level of talent that he has on his team?
I wouldn't call it a hot seat because, well, the Browns are a better team than they get credit for. I mean, I know offensively they're kind of stagnant, even though they went kind of toe-to-toe with the Chargers. But their defense is still very good. They've got one of those guys, like you said last week, is always going to get into the backfield in Myles Garrett. Yeah. And, they're a decent team. I mean, Amari Cooper was surprisingly, it looks like a steal right now. 6th-round pick for what he's given you. Like,
well, I don't think there was a question on his talent. It was more of it was the Cowboys cap situation.
Right. But it's still a steal. You could have negotiated a 4th or even a 3rd, but hey, here we are. And then on the Chargers side, the
Chargers have bad ownership, dude. The Chargers have bad ownership, so there is no hot seat most likely. No, he's probably not on the hot seat because they don't make good moves. You know what I mean? They don't instill winning. It's who instills winning in the Chargers, I feel like, or the quarterback. It's up to the quarterback of the Chargers, and they're fucking lucky they went from Phillip Rivers to Justin Herbert. Like, they're lucky they didn't have to go through the years of like finding a quarterback because it would be abysmal, dude. They probably would be fucking winning like less than 5 games a season, but they were able to go from like generational quarterback to generational quarterback, barring injury.
Right. And it's funny that you mentioned like he's terrible at clock management because I think back to the game against the Raiders that could have got them both a playoff appearance, but instead, he panicked, called that timeout, and then next thing you know, they're out of the playoffs. So
Yeah, this week was clearly the punt, right? The decision to not punt the ball when they're at their own 48-yard line with 1:30 left in the fourth. Go for it, incomplete pass, turn the ball over. Thankfully, Jacoby Brissett threw a pick, but the Browns were driving on them. Very much so looked like they were going to steal that game.
What was it, 4th and do you remember the distance?
4th and 1, and they didn't run. And
Fourth-
Austin
man.
Eckler had been tearing up the Browns' defense that game.
Yeah.
Do you think that do you guys think that when Deshaun comes back that the Browns are going to automatically be
Assaulted?
A contender?
Yeah, kind of, honestly.
Yeah, I think they'll find a way to massage their way into the playoffs.
Heyo.
Jesus
There we
Christ.
go. I agree with Lucas. Definitely big massage gang over there. Probably people who don't get enough massages, Devontae Adams and the photographer that he pushed down after that Chiefs-Raiders game. The Raiders really had that in hand, it looked like, at the end of the first half, but never count out Patrick Mahomes and the 4 touchdowns he threw to Travis Kelce. Hey, did you see that? He threw up the number 4, just flexing on everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chiefs.
Yeah.
The Raiders, I feel like they should have won that game. The whole decision to go for 2 and all that. I don't blame them. Like we fucking cheer every coach that gets that is successful in those moments, or I should say team, but when the coach makes a decision and the team is successful in those moments. I don't know why we literally want to call for the jobs of people when and say like they're idiots when it's like we know what would have happened if it's literally a foot difference in that, and he gets the 2-point conversion and then they go on to maybe win the game, but maybe it's like hindsight football. It's stupid.
Yeah, and it was close. I mean, it was inches. I thought it was going to get overturned, during the commercial break, and then it didn't. That you did the whole fucking zoom in, and it's really that close. I don't know if I would have ran it out of shotgun in that case. You've got Devontae. You want to maybe roll out, have some options, but hey, it is what it is. I think the call was good. And sometimes, you gamble and it doesn't pay off.
Especially if you live in Las Vegas.
And then, the Devontae thing, he's going to be fucked. He's gonna definitely have to settle with this guy, do some type of settlement. It's going to cause him legal trouble, and he's going to get suspended at least a game.
So I have 2 proposals for the NFL. The first, anytime a player does this to a fan or someone in the stand, someone that's not directly involved in the game, just have him run 3 Oklahoma drills.
Against who?
Against the player that did it. So Devontae Adams shows the photographer versus Devontae Adams in an Oklahoma drill.
Then Devontae just gets to assault him 3 more times.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He's dead and the case goes away.
Okay.
What's the issue? Okay, so that's my first proposal. And my second one, you want to participate? Then my second one is at the end of every quarter week, right? So week 4, week 8, week 12, and week 16, 3 teams have to fire their head coach.
That's funny.
Yeah. Or at least they have to swap with another team.
Oh, that'd be even worse. Then the teams just all get worse.
We're already on pace to do that. We got Matt Rule gone. What do you guys think? Did they, cut him off too soon, or was he worth firing?
Carolina's a dumpster fire. I don't think it really matters if they do or don't. I think in most of the cases of this happening in teams, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's pretty early in the season.
Yeah.
This is pretty. This is very early in the season.
And defensively, they were doing fairly well. It was really just the offensive kind of struggle.
I think at the end of the day, it's who decided to bring Baker in.
Yeah.
Like if he was champion, like let's say he was the one that was like, this is what we need to do for the team, then yeah, fire him. For sure. But if it's like if he wasn't even big on Baker and then this happened and you're firing him, that sucks.
It would be really funny if PJ Walker just goes off, because they don't really have. And I think Darnold is still a couple weeks out from coming back, so I don't really see an issue in them bringing in Baker. But maybe they should have taken a closer look at PJ Walker because Baker is not playing very well.
Yeah, Baker's, I think, statistically the worst quarterback in the NFL.
Was he traded to them or?
Yeah, for I think a 4th round pick.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is I would.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, it's kind of a flyer. You know,
Yeah.
you thought you were going to get the pre-2019 Baker, which, you know, looked promising at times.
Well, you knew it was going to be bad as soon as Robbie Anderson started to fire off tweets about how much he did not want Baker Mayfield to be a starting quarterback. Because, like, Robbie Anderson, he's not a wide receiver one. He's not a star or anything. And he's just sitting there like, oh, fuck. This white guy? Are you serious?
yeah, this is what I'm gonna have to deal with.
Yeah, I'd much rather have the guy that was in L.A. than the one that thought he was the king of Oklahoma.
Did you guys hear the rumors about DJ Moore potentially, you know, looking to get traded?
What a surprise. A star wideout on a fledgling offense team wants to get traded.
You guys see him moving? I've heard very, like, lackluster rumors about the Giants looking into him. I don't think it's going to happen. We have zero cash, but you never know. What do you guys think?
Kenny Galladay for DJ Moore swap?
I wish. No one's going to take Kenny Galladay, unfortunately.
No, I mean, it's the same thing that we saw last offseason, I think, is when we're going to see a lot of this wideout movement, if there is any. Obviously, the wideout market got very hot. One team that would be interesting to see if they do acquire a wide receiver, because they desperately need one, is the Chicago Bears. Darnell Mooney looks good.
That one-handed catch was ridiculous. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Oh, yeah. Darnell Mooney is really talented, but they don't have any other offensive weapons, and it really showed in that Vikings game. I mean, they came back very strong against the Vikings.
Yeah.
Nearly beat the Vikings. Kirk Cousins leads a game-winning drive after starting the game 17 for 17. Like, he was red hot to start the game. Vikings offense stalled out. I think if the Bears had a little bit more firepower, there's no question around Justin Fields being a potential starter, because clearly he's done something culturally speaking. They're competitive, at least. They try hard.
Is it the scheme or is it the lack of talent? Because, you know, you look at Darnell Mooney, okay, maybe he's not a clear-cut number one, but he's talented. Equinemius St. Brown, he can make some plays, but I feel like they don't scheme them open enough. I mean, a lot of the times that you see Justin Fields drop back, okay, no one's open, I'm going to scramble and, you know, make some magic, and
How
that's
much
what
can you
keeps them in games.
scheme if you don't have anyone that can get out? I mean, look at the Green Bay Packers, for example, right? A team that has an A++ quarterback. It still has the same offensive struggles that the Chicago Bears do. Now, it's not as large.
Yeah, I think if you rank all the fucking wide receiver, if you start ranking wide receiver cores, and then you're gonna find that they're in like the fucking like bottom 5.
Yeah,
and then that truly is. It's like it's just relative talent. Like, of course, they're still NFL players. They're the best, you know, on the planet, but relatively, like, no, they're just. I think it's talent. I think they've got the quarterback. But I mean, he's just not going to do anything right now. And a lot of the way that personally I look at Justin Fields, the way that I look at Justin Fields personally is from a fantasy perspective, because I have him in a league. So it's like that's why I'm like, he's disappointing. It's not like on the field he looks good. Like, watching him, he looks like the jury's out. I'm not saying he's going to be, you know, the next in the class with, you know, the Herberts and shit like that. But he looks like a you know, a competent NFL starter.
I think if I'm the Bears and I'm entering the next draft, I don't necessarily need to draft a quarterback. If I have the number 1 pick or top 5 pick, I'm probably taking a Bryce Young or a CJ Stroud. But knowing that you have Justin Fields there makes me feel a little bit better that there might still be something you can build around. The only call-out, he has not been very accurate this season, and that's huge, and he scrambles and all of that to get out of the pocket. I do like Justin Fields. I think if he had real skill guys, he could do something special.
Yeah, but if they end up with, like, you know, the 9th, 10th pick,
grab
something
Jackson
like
and Jigga Smith.
Maybe, you know, I don't know how their cap situation is, but when maybe they can go out and get somebody like a DJ Moore, or somebody like that in the off season, and, you know, build. You gotta give people weapons. You know, you gotta give quarterbacks
AR-15.
Yeah, give quarterbacks weapons. Yeah.
So you don't think DJ Moore is moving before the trade deadline?
I don't. No, I don't.
Okay.
Nothing's.
You too?
No, I just don't. I think it's a little too early. There aren't some. Like, what team would he go to? What team are you thinking? Because to me, the defined teams out there that would need offensive help are either going to have offensive help come back. I think the Packers would be an interesting one, actually, now that we talk about it. I don't know what they'd give up, but the Packers would be interesting.
Packers, maybe Kansas City.
What does Kansas City need?
They don't need
have
another,
Patrick Mahomes.
and they don't need another another wide receiver.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have like besides Kelsey, they don't have like a clear cut go to receiver.
Yeah, but he would literally like DJ Moore would would go into a list of wide receiver, a stable of wide receivers where he's. I mean, DJ Moore's not a top 5 wide receiver in the league.
No, like he's definitely top
he's like
30.
Top 15 for sure.
But
top 15?
I think so.
That seems a little high.
I don't know. I just don't think that they'd be upgrading the overall position so much that it makes sense. It's a crowded room as it is.
Yeah, I know. I completely agree, right? And the big thing with the Chiefs is any given Sunday or Monday or Thursday, whenever they play football games, as I learned last year, they don't always play them on the weekends.
I think it's an OBJ-like situation because he's been playing with shitty quarterbacks for years now. I mean, we all thought he wasn't a superstar anymore. Then he goes, plays with Matt Stafford, and what do you know? He's on his way to becoming Super Bowl MVP before he gets hurt. So I think we could see a similar resurgence in DJ Moore, depending on if he gets traded and where he goes.
Yeah, I really like DJ Moore. I don't know if he's a top 15 wideout. I'd say there are a lot of good wide receivers regardless. I think Kenny's point stands very valid, where already in the Chiefs wideout room, you got Juju Smith-Schuster, Marcus Valdez-Scantling, Sky Moore, among 3 or 4 other guys that circle in there
Nicole
in
Hardman
any given
too?
game.
Yeah.
So even if he's number 1, he's doing some timeshare with everyone else that's on the roster.
Sure. I think of it this way: if they were going to spend some capital for a trade, wouldn't they Wouldn't they be getting defensive help?
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't they? Like, why would they be like, what we need is another wide receiver?
I mean, who knows? I mean, the Rams have done both of the above, and that got them a Super Bowl.
Someone who typically agrees with you, Lucas. We got Dwayne Murphy Jr.
There we go.
Coming through our headset live with a few voice memos. Little message from Father Murphy.
Feeling the rush now, Kenny. Come on. Your boy Cooper is 5-0. All right. They don't know how to take this man down. Okay. He brings so much juice, so much energy. The Cowboys have new life. I am rooting for the Cowboys now because Cooper Rush has made me a believer. Why can't you get on board, baby? He might bring you to the promised land. And you need to show this man some respect. You know what I'm saying? Relax on Dak. It's going to be a couple more weeks before we even think about letting him back on the field. And yes, I said we because I'm on Team Cooper Rush, baby. All right? It's time to feel it. It is time to feel it.
The dog in the background, too. The one thing I want to point out is he goes, you can't put him down. But I bet you Dak is waiting on a grassy knoll right now. Standing in Dallas.
Yeah, I'll say it again. I am happy that we're winning. I think Cooper Rush is a great backup quarterback. But, I mean, especially after this last week, he, again, not terrible. He just managed what he had to do, but that defense is playing crazy, and I just don't. That you're not going to get that for 17 games, and 20 games if we want to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
we're just not. That's not how football works, and I'm not going to pretend that it's not. I think that he's trying to destroy the Cowboys from the inside out by supporting Cooper Rush. I think that's all it is. I think because he knows that. He knows it.
I wouldn't put it past him. A team we definitely know he's not attacking from the inside out. His own New York Giants.
The New York Giants are for real, all right? You can't call us a pushover team anymore, and you can't really say that what we're doing is lucky or it's a fluke, all right? We are beating some pretty solid teams, all right? And at the end of the day, we look so much more organized than we've ever looked. We look so much more disciplined than we've ever looked, and we are definitely way better coached than we ever have been. It's time to admit that the Giants are here, baby, and the NFC East is the best division in football.
Yes.
Record-wise.
What division is better? I want to know. What division is so much better?
No, I In the NFC, there definitely isn't one. I'm not going to argue
It's
on
the
that.
best division in the NFC, but the AFC has better divisions than
Like
The AFC East and AFC North
Yeah.
definitely have more talent.
the East, I don't know. The Patriots have one good game, and all of a sudden it's a competitive.
They're 2-3.
Yeah,
The Jets are 3-2, Dolphins are 3-2, and the Bills are 4-1. Like
Yeah.
to me,
Yeah, but
that's-
are they better teams than the teams we have in the NFC East?
I would take
I like the
everyone except
Dolphins.
the Jets over the Giants.
You would take the 2-3 Patriots over everyone in the NFC East besides the Commanders?
No, not besides the
probably
definitely
besides the Eagles. I would
Yeah,
say.
well, besides the Eagles and the Cowboys.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I can't. No.
Yeah,
I'm saying
baby.
all right, as in like I hear your opinion and I completely disagree. But what am I doing? I'm a fucking homer.
I
dude,
hear
of
your
course.
opinion and I poo-poo it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Cowboys and the Eagles are much more talented teams than someone like the Jets, the Pats. They're unproven.
I agree with that. I
Yeah.
think the Cowboys and Eagles are on par with the Bills' level of talent, but
The Dolphins, they look great, but we still don't know what they're going to be when Tua comes back, because without him, they're not that great. And the Bills, of course, are the Bills. Are one of the top 3, maybe even top team in the NFL. But I don't think that makes them a better division than the NFC East.
I will also say something I actually forgot to bring up during the Cowboys game, talking about the Cowboys game, is Zeke. I think Zeke's getting a little bit of disrespect because of Tony Pollard, and Zeke looked great in this game, but people are like calling for like, you need to give the ball to Pollard more, and I just don't. They're different kinds of backs. Like I think they're actually like complement each other perfectly, because you need to feed Zeke and get him going, which was evident in this past game, and then Tony Pollard can come in and just rattle off some big plays.
Tony Pollard's been running better than Zeke for the past 3 years. Clearly, the Cowboys haven't made up that they have like the power back and then the elusive back, or whatever you want to those are just the Madden classifications. That's how I know football is Madden. But Tony Pollard very much so is a very good running back. I don't think that's out of the picture. I do think having the mismatch and the mix of someone like Zeke who can run into the line as many times as you need, and Tony Pollard to come in there and get to the outside, that definitely grinds on a defense.
And I don't think here my thing is, though, I don't think that Tony Pollard, like, I think if Tony Pollard, I mean, it's happened. Tony Pollard has had to be the back, and he's not as effective. Like, he's just not. Like, he hasn't had those like when he had to have like games where it was him or a combination of him and whatever the third string is. He was not nearly as effective. I think it's like this is the best use, like what they're actually doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good problem to have, because anytime you can say, oh, this guy deserves more carries than this, and that means you have two very talented backs. I think you look at what the Packers do with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones, even though they're not exactly the same type of backs that Dallas has. That's kind of the gold standard for if you're going to have a committee backfield and keep both guys happy, that's how you do it. And most of the season, they've looked good, with the exception of this game, because, of course, they play the Giants. So, yeah, I think you guys will be fine when it comes to the running backs. I mean, at the end of the day, you've got Kellen Moore kind of figuring it out. So as long as you trust him, you guys will be all right.
Trusting Kellen Moore. I think running backs is a great segue to our fantasy takeaways of the week. I want to kick it off with Dwayne's first, and then we'll each do our own.
My fantasy takeaway after 5 weeks, I am willing to admit that IDP is a joke. All right. I am so sick of checking on my defensive players. All right. It is not fun. OK, just give me a straight defense. Give me a PPR league. I'm cool with that. But this independent defensive player shit, not my vibe. All right. I tried to stick with it. I tried to find some fun in it. I don't like it at all. All right. It's offense or nothing for me after this year.
So funny.
You heard it here first, folks.
I do not agree with this message.
IDP sucks. I think that's the most valid fantasy takeaway. Honestly, that was going to be my fantasy takeaway.
I think
not
there's a
even-
reason why it hasn't caught steam. I can't really judge because I haven't played IDP yet. I do like defensive players. I feel like I would like it, but I think there's a reason why, full point or half point PPR has remained the gold standard throughout all these years. Actually, not throughout all these years. PPR is still fairly new and accepted. I still morally have an issue with PPR because you're giving away points for nothing. But, it's what's popular now. If people like inflated scores, whatever. I'm cool with it. I don't know. I thought it'd be cool to have defensive players like in a fantasy aspect. Or have his defense fantasy players been shit in the bed?
I'm trying to look and see. Here's the thing. We're having Dwayne sends this in, and in that league, he's in 11th place out of 12.
Oh,
so it's like
yeah.
I would assume that if you join an IDP league and then you don't do well, you know what I mean, in that league, that it's not going to be as fun. Maybe he's been either his defensive players have shit the bed, or the players he's playing against have just gotten like astronomical scores or something. Like they just fucking have great weeks or something like that. But I love IDP myself, and I think it's more of the reason it hasn't caught on is because offense is king, and that's what people want to watch. So when they're watching, like it's like I don't know, I enjoy watching the game and watching like a defensive player and hoping they're running towards my linebacker, or that I get a pass defended or a sack or something.
What you're saying is if Vince Lombardi was playing fantasy football, he'd love IDP.
100%. And I love IDP. I do. I like it. I like it so much better. I hate the randomness of the team.
Yeah.
Of the team defense thing. I hate that the Raiders held Patrick Mahomes to a great first half, shitty, and then he scores a bunch of points in the second half, and that's all. Like there's no compensation for that. But if you have individual players that are on that team that were making that happen, making it all happen, you know what I mean? You'd get those points. That's what I
yeah, like. I know you like it. I am very thankful I didn't join that league. But what is your fantasy takeaway, having to defend IDP for the last 10 minutes?
I know. I guess my takeaway is IDP is good. No, my takeaway is I don't know if this season truly is like an anomaly, or if it's the fact that we're doing the new less preseason game, but it seems like maybe we're evening out and these running backs are starting to pick up, and we're starting to have good running back play, maybe because everybody's starting to get tired.
Yeah, I know I mentioned that a little bit last week too, where the stats that we're seeing now in terms of points from running backs seem to be ticking up a bunch, right? Like Josh Jacobs looks like RB1 currently, behind Nick Chubb, so RB2, actually, and right in front of Saquon Barkley. That's where I would slot Josh. It would go like this: Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs, Saquon.
Yeah. In terms of fantasy, in terms of MVP, Saquon's right at the top.
Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs, Gus Edwards, who's been on the PUP list.
Yeah, sure.
J.K. Dobbins.
And Barry Sanders.
Walter Payton, Emmitt Smith, Saquon Barkley. Is that fair?
No Tiki Barber before Saquon.
Okay, yeah, definitely. I mean, best Giants running back of all time, Tiki Barber. Saquon Barkley.
I mean, Tiki was great. Saquon still has a long career to go, so I'm excited to see how he's going to surpass Tiki, because he hasn't yet.
But the running backs are just doing better. That's what I'm happy for it.
Dameon Pierce, are we putting him in the RB1 category?
Yes, fine.
Okay.
You can have it. I'll give you it.
I don't see why he wouldn't.
You're right.
Yeah. Raheem Mostert, that's another good running back to talk about. He has taken control of the Dolphins' backfield. Would you put him in the RB1 category? Or
No.
are you still considering him a RB2 because he still has Chase Edmonds right behind him?
No, just because I think once Tua comes back, the Dolphins don't really run the football as much as they currently are. It's very different when you have your third-string quarterback who's a rookie and Thompson playing a football game compared to even Teddy Bridgewater. You have to change up the game plan completely. Of course you're going to run the ball.
Sure, but I mean, I'm saying since Raheem Mostert is going to take or has taken control of a powerful backfield that's attached to a good offense, does that, put him into the RB1 category?
Well, no,
No.
because it's not going to be the same quarterback situation as it's been since the uptick, because we are still in the beginning of the season.
Yes, their offense is not going to look like this. And I know, okay, you can be a great running back on a powerhouse offense, but that doesn't always necessarily mean touchdowns. And they have Chase Edmonds still. And Tua really like to target Chase Edmonds in the red zone to begin with anyway. So I like Raheem Mostert, but I definitely do not have him in an RB1 category.
I agree he's not there yet, but I think he will be by the end of the season. And it's funny. It's kind of like the opposite of what's happening with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, because he's, a good running back attached to an amazing offense. And he happened to have a down week, but throughout the first 4 weeks, he was looking incredible.
He had a couple really bad games running the football, but he was scoring touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, as a fantasy player, he was looking great. Did you have any more fantasy takeaways? No? Okay. My big fantasy takeaway is, are we panicking on the Detroit Lions? Because, first of all, we never expected them to be the highest scoring offense in the NFL, but they are. And they just had a donut game to the Patriots, who, give credit's due. It's a good defense, but to hold them to 0 is a very huge swing. So are you guys worried about the Lions and their offensive potency going forward?
If you're relying on any Lions player besides Amon-Ra St. Brown to score you fantasy points, shoot yourself.
Yeah,
you don't trust DeAndre Swift?
He's been hurt.
Yeah, but who got? Just like you said, nobody believed in the Lions, so nobody took stake in the Lions. And even if you did take Amron, you didn't pay a premium.
I mean, I don't know what his ADP was at the top of my head, but he was one of the kind of up and coming receivers.
Right, but you were paying that price. He wasn't. I'll look it up right now. But he was not. You didn't have to pay that much for him for it to where you're looking at it now you're devastated because they didn't score any points.
Well, he had one bad game. I think he's still a great receiver.
Just came back from injury, but I mean, to the point, DeAndre Swift's been hurt a majority of the season. Jamal Williams has looked really good. I think once DeAndre Swift comes back, yeah, you can plug and play him, but he's been dealing with injuries the past 2 seasons, so I wouldn't be surprised if he gets hurt again. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a bona fide wideout one for fantasy. When that guy's healthy, he's untouchable. No one can stop him, right? 8 for 100 and a touchdown. You can nearly count on that every single week. TJ Hawkinson, too much variability. That's always been the case with him in the Lions offense.
More so with tight ends in
tight
general.
end.
Yeah,
except Travis Kelce. So, truth be told, I mean, again, I think the point stands. If you're relying on the Lions for fantasy wins, you're probably not super fantasy relevant.
Okay, fair. I think I've said my piece. What's your fantasy takeaway?
My fantasy takeaway, I think the variability is calming down in the system. We are seeing far less swings, and stars are playing like stars again. I think this goes back to Kenny's point more than anything, which is, hey, we're in week 5, going into week 6. Teams are figuring out their offensive identity. And that really comes through, I'd say, in fantasy football primarily, especially around quarterback play. Speaking of, we're moving on to week 6, where we have we have a few really interesting games on the slate in week 6. Let's start off with a game no one really cares about, but we're all going to talk about it anyway. Bills-Chiefs. Probably the least consequential football game that's ever taken place in the regular season. The Bills are obviously a porous franchise with an awful postseason record. The Chiefs, having won 1 Super Bowl recently, they're okay. They're Kansas City. I don't know. To me, this game, not really interesting, pretty boring. I think relatively low-scoring game, if we're going to be honest. Nothing like Giants-Ravens slated for later in the week, or even Cardinals-Seahawks. Can we just kind of gloss over Bills-Chiefs if you guys are okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely not. I think this is the game that determines who the best team in the NFL is. And
that would be the Super Bowl at the end of the season, Lucas. That's how.
Yeah, but we're talking about right now. Yeah, right now, dude. And I think the Bills are going to win this one. Yeah. I think, the Chiefs were lucky to escape that 17-point deficit because they're playing the Raiders, who, by the way, don't sleep on them. I still think they're going to come back. But the Bills are going to win this game. I don't know if it's going to be high scoring because, obviously the Bills have one of the best defenses in the NFL.
No,
the Chiefs.
If you listen to my intro, this is a boring football game.
That's not boring to me. Yeah. Chiefs have improved on defense, but I don't think that's enough to hold back the Bills. We know they had that crazy game in the playoffs, so I think Bills win by touchdown.
Bills by 6. Kenny, who do you have? Bills, Chiefs.
I think this is like one of the more like epic battles, that we see we have for these, last year and then probably for the next few years in the NFL. And I think it'll be, they'll trade blows back and forth. But I think that the Bills are going to come on top on this one. I think because they were the last ones to lose, right, in the playoffs. They lost in the playoffs to the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I think that they kind of want it more, and it's the regular season thing. And I think when Mahomes obviously shows up every game, but when he's going to show up and get that extra gas out of the tank and really and then come back is in the playoffs.
Yeah, this is really kind of like a Family Guy Simpson situation for me.
Yeah.
Like, which do you prefer watching? Neither of them, to be honest. I think they're both bad programs, and they shouldn't have won any awards. I'm just fine. Obviously, it's the most interesting game of the week, if not the most interesting game of the regular season. I agree. I'll pick Chiefs for variability for the sake of not doubting Patrick Mahomes, because I absolutely love Patrick Mahomes, and I would trade the entire Arizona Cardinals roster for him.
Would you deal with having to forfeit games or just pick up player, like literally just have all college undrafted rookies?
With Patrick Mahomes
as the quarterback to start your team.
Honestly, I think we'd probably be 3-2. So yeah, I'm taking that. The game that I really was talking about when it came to an uninteresting game, but to me a little bit fascinating, is Jaguars Colts. Trevor Lawrence versus Matt Ryan, the 2-1 Colts against the seemingly hot, very cold now Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence has looked really bad these last 2 weeks. Is there any hope for the Jaguars that they can pull out the AFC South?
I need to see. This is where I need to go back on the podcast, because there was a couple weeks ago that people were on the podcast talking about how good the Jags were. And that the Jags are really contenders and everything. And Trevor, Doug Peterson really, he went down there and he's got Trevor Lawrence, and this is why it was Urban Meyer's fault. He was down there fingering, and that's why they sucked. It's just, again, the NFL is, the pendulum is swinging.
I think they play in a shitty division, and that's why, that kind of brought them back down to earth. They lost to the Texans. I'm not going to say they're not going to be a contender by the end of the season, but right now it's not looking like it. They've definitely got to win this game to start making people believe again. And I mean, he's a young guy. It's hard to give up on Trevor Lawrence so early in the season, but win some games, dude. The Texans, we got to win that game.
Yeah, surprisingly, after 3 weeks, I might have came in a little too hot on the Jaguars. Lesson learned, don't make takes after 3 weeks. Make them at the start of the season. They're way more defensible. Who do you guys have for this game? I'm going to pick the Jags. I think they're a more talented team than the Colts. And the Colts, I don't know how they have 2 wins. It's quite baffling.
Is Jonathan Taylor playing?
TBD.
I think if Jonathan Taylor plays... If Jonathan Taylor's not playing, then Jags easy. But I'll take Jags either way, I guess.
Okay.
I like the Colts, with or without him. I think defensively, they still do a lot of good things. And they'll get it together. I think faster than the Jags, even though the Jags seem to have found more of an identity. I think the Colts, you can't give up on them that early. They beat the Chiefs. I don't think that was a fluke, because they're a very good team, as we saw, last night. I like the Colts.
You didn't even sound like you believe that.
I do.
Yeah, again, AFC South games, if you're betting money, don't bet on this game. A game that you might want to bet on with another Apex Predator, we have Saints-Bengals.
You're talking about the Apex Predator as in Taysom Hill?
No. I'm talking apex predator Jameis Winston on the sideline eating that W. Saints Bengals. It'll be an interesting game regardless. I think the Saints, once they got Alvin Kamara back, look like a very different team. But the Bengals have been playing way better. I know they lost to the Ravens 19-17, Justin Tucker game winner. Personally, I think the Bengals win this game. I think they're a more talented team, look like a better team, and the Saints still don't really have a great quarterback right now. Also, last week I think is a bit of an anomaly in the Saints scoring. The Seahawks defense could not stop them. So I am going to go Bengals this week.
I'm gonna pick Bengals as well, but I just that was wild. I almost picked this game to talk about this week just because it let me reference Taysom Hill's wild game.
Yeah.
That he was the highest scoring tight end in football, even though Travis Kelce scored 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
But that was it was just I don't think they do that every week. I think the Bengals are evening out a little bit at least. The Bengals look far better than the Rams look.
Yeah.
As far as Super Bowl teams. But, Bengals for me.
I like the Bengals, too. I think they have to win this game. I think they finally are starting to get that, sense of that momentum on their side. They're starting to stack the wins. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think Bengals look like a good team. That's the only game we've picked out of the first 3, all consecutive. You guys both picked Bills. Kenny and I picked Jags, and all 3 of us picked the Bengals to win. The last 3 games we're going to discuss this week, same 3 that we're always going to do our own team games. How do you guys want to start? I have the perfect order. We'll go shittiest game to most impressive game for the week. Okay. Shittiest game that our teams are playing is going to be Cardinals Seahawks, kicking us off. 2, 2, and 3 teams. Not that it's going to be an uninteresting game. I think it'll be a fascinating football game. Geno Smith and Kyler Murray both know how to put up points. As a Cardinals fan, I want to win this game. The Seahawks are a really big rival. I would love for us to actually pull out a W. I do think Pete Carroll is a better coach than Cliff Kingsbury. I think the Cardinals have more talent. And the following week, we get DeAndre Hopkins back. Do you guys agree that the Cardinals win this game?
I agree that the Cardinals win this game. However, I think the Seahawks actually have more talent. Receiving-wise, for sure. Quarterback, obviously, you guys have the upper hand. Defensively, the Seahawks, they've got into very high-scoring games, so it's hard to say their defense looks great, but they do have some talent on that side of the ball. I think the Cardinals take this. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think this is one of the more winnable games the Cardinals have had so far, and I think that they will win. I think they're playing much better than, like I said, is that real? It's wild if it's really that extra preseason game just makes these teams much worse at the beginning.
It might. I mean, Kyler Murray barely played a single snap for the Cardinals to open up the season, but no, I think this will be an interesting game regardless. I agree that the Seahawks have a very good receiving core. The Cardinals' defense has been playing pretty decently, though.
Yeah, they haven't played bad.
After me completely doubting them to start the season, they've at least firmed up the second most interesting game of our 3 teams. Giants-Ravens. We got 2 quarterbacks out there. Both of them probably should be wide receivers. Not saying anything. But they're fast. Giants-Ravens, interesting game. Giants defense against a Ravens offense that's looked relatively streaky since getting J.K. Dobbins back. No Rashad Bateman last week. I think that hurt them a little bit. Mark Andrews wasn't up to snuff. But they still pulled out a W because Justin Tucker is one of the best kickers in football. How are you feeling as a Giants fan going up against the Ravens? Is this an easy W or an L?
Absolutely not an easy W because the Ravens are a very good team offensively and defensively. However, we have their old defensive coordinator, and I think he is going to give us the blueprint to win. I think it'll be a close game. I think it's going to be very hard to contain Lamar Jackson, but I think we can do it. So I see the Giants winning and it being a very competitive game.
So we got Giants, Kenny Giants, Ravens?
I think that the Ravens are going to win this game. I I mean, if the Giants win this game, if it's like we have the Giants and the Cowboys both win this game, then these games, I feel like it's just playing more into it is the best division in all of football. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think these teams can sustain these wins. Obviously, the Eagles and the Cowboys get to eat each other this week. I just don't think that the Giants are as good of a football team as the Ravens are.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Ravens are probably going to win this game. But truth be told, I am very wary, if I'm a Ravens fan, of the rising New York Football Giants. Bringing us to our final game of the week.
I do think I do think you have to respect the Giants. You can't. It's not just. I'm not just saying it's a trash record. I'm just saying that it's like, again, the pendulum's going to swing back for one of the three fucking teams, the Eagles, the Cowboys, or the Giants. It's gonna swing. It has to.
It's funny. So they compared the records of all the opponents in the NFC East, and most of our opponents had losing records combined. The Giants, however, had the only winning record among their opponents, which was 15-10.
Stats.
Next Gen Stats, presented by
Lucas Cicero.
Yeah,
dude.
dude.
And final game of the week, and I think clearly the most interesting. Kenny, you alluded to it a little bit earlier. The Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. 5-0, 4-1. This is the game to see who will be in the lead in the NFC East. If both of them lose, which it could be a possibility.
A good tie.
Yeah, it could tie. Even if they tied it, even if they tied, Eagles would still be in first in the division. But this really is for the crown in the division in the NFC East, at least through these first 6 weeks. I'd personally be very nervous if I'm a Cowboys fan, because I think Jalen Hurts is one of 3 quarterbacks that could actually do something against Micah Parsons.
I think that that's basically what I'm going to say, is that this game just basically comes down to if the defense can play the way that it played against the Rams, like cause that kind of disruption and everything, then the Cowboys win this game. If they don't do that, like if they don't go out there and at the end of this we just say the same thing again, man, Micah Parsons is the best player in football, or one of the best, and the Cowboys are, and the defense is insane. If we're not saying that at the end of the game, the Cowboys aren't winning the game. Like, it's not, even if we're just like, oh, Cowboys played good. Cowboys really, played a decent game against Jalen Hurts, they lose that game.
So do you trust them to pull it out?
I can't at this point. I can't go against them because they haven't let me down yet at this point. So I'll have to pick Cowboys as the homer and ride with them.
Rush.
But
feel the rush.
I'm not.
Why do you think he's wearing a burgundy shirt? Come on, dude.
No.
Lucas, Cowboys Eagles.
First off, where are they playing? Is it a Eagles or Cowboys home game?
Neutral site on an aircraft carrier in Saudi Arabia.
Fuck yeah. Okay.
No, I have no idea.
No. I mean, that is going to play a factor.
It's going to be in Philly.
Okay.
In Philly, okay.
Oh, then they played they played Christmas Eve at 1:25 p.m.
Oh, interesting. At Cowboy Stadium, huh?
Yep.
Jerryland. Okay. Well, I like the Eagles more, and I'll explain why. Offensively, I think they have more versatility. We've seen them win when they rely very heavily on the run, and we've seen them win when they rely heavily on the passing game. The Cowboys are a little bit more one-dimensional, especially since, they haven't really put the ball in Cooper Rush's hands, to fully kind of take over with the passing game. Not saying they can't. I think if it goes down to it being a very high-scoring game, I could see, the rush just taking over. However, I just trust the Eagles because of that offensive versatility more, so I have them winning.
I second that. I also have the Eagles winning this football game. I think they're a better football team. But I do agree with Kenny. If at the end of it we're saying how good Micah Parsons is and the Cowboys' defense is, the Cowboys probably are going to be winning the game. But I'll go Eagles right now. And that brings us to the end of another episode of Division Rivals. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next week.
Later, dudes.
Later.